Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamson County Coaches Preview Show. I'm Jack Daniels, your host, and with me for tonight's game is the head football coach at Brentwood High School, Coach Mike Woodward. Welcome back, Coach.
Oh, thanks, Jack.
I had you back in the show here back this summer, and I know a lot of things have gone on, a lot of water under the bridge, but let's kind of start back with you again, if you would, and just tell everybody kind of where you grew up and where you've been coaching at the last few years.
Well, I grew up in Illinois, a northerner, but I came down to University of Evansville. That's how I got down in the proximity, I guess. But I've been in Tennessee for about 16 years now coaching. And been in Antioch for the last 7 years as head coach before coming over here to Brentwood.
Okay. And I know you got into Williamson County at Centennial back in the day with Coach Rollins, I believe.
Yep. That's actually where I got my high school start, was at Centennial. Coach Rollins brought me in there for a couple years, and then was at Ravenwood when it opened, and spent 4 years there with Brian before going to Antioch.
Right. Well, let's get into this year. I know starting out 0-3 has not been what you were looking for as a head football coach, but kind of let's go back and recap the first 3 games of the season and kind of bring us up to date for this week's game.
Well, we started off with CPA, and we talked about what a good program and strong program they are, and they're actually ranked number 1 in the state right now in their classification. And we went down, and really we just made too many mistakes. We turned the ball over on the second play of the game and gave them a short field, and then turned the ball over another time as we were inside their 20 getting ready to score ourselves. So, 14-point turnaround there. We lost the game by 3 because we just weren't valuing the football.
Mm-hmm.
And we played Blackman then on a short week on Thursday night, another very strong team. And I thought overall we played a lot better. We still had a problem with turnovers, threw an interception on the second play of the game, which turned into points for them. But we had a lead at half, and we're really feeling good about it. They came out the second half, made some nice adjustments, and took the lead over. But, again, our kids kept scrapping, and we found a way to get points. Ended up losing that game by 10, but we felt like we were going in the right direction and had seen, some improvements from that first game. Then we played Centennial, and for the first time, we really felt like we'd taken a step back. We weren't playing as well fundamentally as we had the first couple weeks. We had way too many turnovers or opportunities for the defense to create turnovers where we didn't fall on loose balls that were on the ground. And, just got sloppy with a lot of our assignments. And so we went back to fundamentals this week, had a lot of things to correct, and getting ready for Hendersonville.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that with Blackman, I think they're undefeated too, aren't they?
They are.
And they're probably ranked in the top 5.
They're ranked. I think they were number 6 when we played them. I don't know if they've gone up, since then.
Right.
But they're ranked very high.
Definitely another tough Rutherford County team over there, and another team that you got to play here in the future is Oakland, which is probably one of the top 2 teams in the state in 6A. So your non-district schedule has not been an easy schedule for you.
Not at all.
And talking about tonight's opponent, Hendersonville, they come in at 3-0.
That's right. Hendersonville comes in at 3-0. Coach Hatfield does a great job there, and has for a long time. And when you and I talked earlier, we talked about how they may be a little bit of an under-the-radar program, but they're so good on a consistent basis. Right. And I think they have a lot of guys back from last year's team, which maybe was a little disappointment for them in terms of how they ended the year, but they've got a lot of kids back playing very good football right now.
Right. Well, let's kind of back up, if you would, just kind of go back over your staff and who's helping you and what they do at the school and what they're coaching for your football team.
Okay. Our defensive coordinator is Pat Curran. He teaches PE over there, and it's his first year as a defensive coordinator. Pat and I go back to when he was playing at Austin P and I was coaching there, so I've known him for a long time, and he works real hard, does a great job there. Our defensive line coach is Dave Ball, former Titan. He comes in and volunteers his time and comes in, and you can't do better for D lineman than having a guy who's played in the league as far as teaching them technique to play with. So that goes well. And then Stephen Slow is coaching our linebackers and is teaching math over there. Offensively, I got Gabe Evans, who's a history teacher, and he's coaching offensive line. And then Mark Matakavich is English teacher, and he's got the running backs.
Mm-hmm. Who maybe are some of your support staff as far as like managers, athletic trainer, some of those people who are
Jay Moore.
involved?
Yeah, Jay Moore is our athletic trainer. And unfortunately, we've kept him very busy for these last few weeks. Right. But he does a real good job with our guys, getting them ready back on the field as quickly as possible. I can't say enough good things about how he helps us there with that.
Mm-hmm. Is Drumbright still around the program?
He is. Yep, he is. He still comes in and helps us out, when he can around his work schedule.
Right.
But he's a great one to come in and help us out.
Yeah. I think he'll always be definitely a Brentwood Bruin from now on.
I think so.
He's already been a part of the program. Well, as far as the week of preparation this week, it's homecoming at Brentwood, isn't it?
It is. Yep, it's our homecoming.
It's going to be a little different this year. I read in the paper where the parade is actually taking a different route this year. I don't know if you're familiar with the Brentwood homecoming parade.
I'm not familiar with the route, so I have been told it's a different route. For me, it's a new route regardless.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out. But the atmosphere has been great. Everybody's still excited, even though, as you mentioned, our start isn't what we were hoping for. But there's still a lot of excitement, a lot of support for our football team, and I think it'll be a great turnout. I think it'll be an exciting day at the school. I think there'll be a great turnout tonight, and I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Well, as far as I guess getting into X and O, if you had to come up with give us a scouting report on what we're expected to see tonight from Hendersonville.
Well, offensively they run wing T, and it's based around their fullback. We're going to have to stop the fullback. He's a tough, hard-running kid. We're going to have to gang tackle, which, hopefully we'll do a better job tackling than we have in the past. Defensively, again, they're a very solid 50 team, which they always have been as long as I've been around. They're going to have some big boys up front for us to handle. But, hopefully we can get our backs out on the edge and do some good things out in space, and we're going to have to be successful throwing the football also.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of the seniors that will be starting for you tonight, Coach?
Well, Aaron Mayer is going to be starting, again at quarterback for us. Austin Wells as our running back. Andy Shumpert will be one of our receivers. Caleb Tyler is another receiver, and he's a senior that'll be starting and playing significant minutes. Up front, Mark Randolph's a senior. He'll be starting. Paul Hunt will be starting. And we do get Thomas Roberts back. We haven't had him for the last couple of weeks, but he's going to be back playing for us up front. Mm-hmm. And I think that covers the seniors on the offensive side. On the defensive side, Paul's going to be starting again. He'll be pulling double duty on both sides of the trenches for us. Cordell Thompson's going to be playing at linebacker. Tanner Holloman hopefully is going to be playing quite a bit of linebacker for us. Tillman Kazmierowicz will be starting at corner. By the way, he was also on the National Merit semifinalist list, so give him a little pub for that.
Sure.
So
sure.
That's a great accomplishment for him.
Is.
And so he'll be starting there. And Hunter Anderson will be starting at one of our outside linebacker spots.
So you still have quite a few seniors that are starting for you in the program, but
yes,
Brentwood lost a lot of seniors off last year's.
We did. Did lose a lot of seniors, and we're probably starting more underclassmen than Brentwood's accustomed to.
Right.
I've been told that usually it's a pretty senior-heavy class in terms of who's playing on Fridays. Right now we've got a lot of juniors, that are starting, or if not starting, or in, fill-in positions where they're rolling in on a regular rotational basis. We've got some sophomores, that are starting too, which hasn't happened very often. Blake Mitchell's been starting at center. John Robertson has been starting or sharing time, with Caleb at one of the receiver spots. Ahmad Arnold is now starting to work his way in on both sides of the football. So, we've got some sophomores that we're starting to lean on too.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was at Brentwood several years ago now, but I think it was my last year, we kind of developed that where it became a senior ball club, and it was just every year was having 23 to 27 seniors, and that was back in 2000, 2001. And then I think last year you guys had 37 seniors that left. It's tough to replace that many senior players, not only from them being on the field playing, but maybe leadership things that take place throughout the course of, the year there. So have you had some seniors step up leaders for you this year?
Yeah, first of all, our three captains, I think, have all done a great job. Austin Wells, Aaron Mayer, and Thomas Roberts. Mm-hmm. They set great examples in terms of how they work, and also in terms of encouraging and pushing those around them. They're not quiet where they're just, some people just work hard but don't do much to make those around them better. I think all three of those guys, while they're working, also make it a point to encourage and push, those around them, which is what you need.
Right.
And hopefully we'll get more and more people involved in that to where it's not just enough to work hard yourself. You also want to push that guy next to you to make him, give his best also.
How many total seniors do you have on this year's squad?
Well, I think we're sitting at about 22.
22. And
About 22.
total number of players, sophomores through?
About 68 to 70.
Okay. And then how's your freshman program doing this year?
Freshmen are 2-1 right now. They're getting better each week. You know, we lost our season opener to Independence, 6-3, and kind of like our first game varsity-wise, just lost some opportunities. Very easily could have won that game by a couple scores, but then came back and beat Blackman, and then beat Centennial this week. So you know they're turning it around and they're doing very well.
And now how's your JV?
And JV is 1-2, beat Centennial this last week also. You know, it's been a rough spot for those guys because, like I mentioned earlier, with the sophomores we've had playing varsity, that takes away from guys that you would normally have playing in those JV games. You know, so some of their big weapons they haven't had access to because they're playing varsity, and also at that level, who had a couple guys who have been nicked up and missed some games. But they're starting to gel, and I think we've got a pretty good idea now of guys that'll be staying varsity, staying JV. So, you know, I expect them to continue to get better also.
We used to have an old saying back then that our coaches talked about, and I would tell them, I said, well, you could probably, the rule of thumb is for every sophomore we start at 6A football. Back then it was 5A football.
Right.
I said, you can almost count a loss. So if we're starting sophomores, if we had 3, if we had 4, that might be losses that we may be looking at it fast. Because when you're playing at that competition, at that level of football, you're actually, you know, you're expecting the juniors, the senior, mainly senior-dominated team to help you compete week in and out, because it becomes a debt issue also as you go through the year, and you well know that. But every now and then you get a special sophomore that can. I was trying to think if I've ever had a freshman that actually was a big contributor. Have you had a freshman coach ever that?
You know, I had a freshman a couple years ago who started at receiver when I was at Antioch, and we ended up winning district that year. But not to take anything away from him because he was a very good player for us, but we also were running triple option, so it wasn't like he was a focal point that we had to, you know, depend on. As long as he was blocking the corner most of the night, you know, he was doing his job. But aside from him, no, I can't think of any, you know, freshman that I've been around that was able to start, you know, at this level.
And I'd read something in one of the news media this past week where a freshman gained 100-something yards rushing on a Friday night. I'm thinking, my goodness, where are those guys? Where are those guys?
That's a special kid, man.
It's a special kid. How many kids do you think that you need in order to be successful at the 6A level? Actually, you know, that's got to be able to win on the field for you on a Friday night. It's like, I always thought the number was 17. If I had 17 really good football players, I could, you know, we could put a good team out there. But I don't know, has that number changed now because you don't have as many two-way players? Or?
Well, you know, I might go a little bit higher than that, and I might go just to keep it even, just say 22, just to have a solid 2 deep, whether it means you're starting 11 on offense, a different 11 on defense, and they spell each other, or however it may be. You know, I just know that, and especially with big guys, you know, you try so hard to rotate them in and out to make sure they're not getting gassed, especially since we play 2-3 games before Labor Day now, early in the year. You really got to have some big bodies to rotate in and out. But, you know, I think if you got, I would just say 22 really good football players, you know, physically and mentally. You know, they don't all have to be 6'4", 220 running a 4.6, but, you know, if they're also mentally into it and good, tough kids, then, yeah, I think you can be pretty successful.
Coach, if you don't mind, kind of go through a week of practice now for you since the season started. What's involved for the coaches, like after the game on Friday night? What's their weekend like? What's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? And also for the kids on how much time they're putting in.
Okay. Well, for the coaches, you know, we leave. I don't know how long we stay. We'll stay for, you know, quite a while after the game, just making sure everything's, of course, broken down, cleaned up, and organized, locked up. But we'll come back in Saturday morning at 7 to start with the film breakdown. And we've been there from 7 till about 2. And then we go home, and when we don't meet again, I give the coaches the rest of the weekend to be with their kids and their family and just do some extra film work on their own. And then we touch base. You know, we'll all call each other on Sundays and just talk about how, after watching more film, if we like what the plan is, if we need to tweak anything or maybe take something out, add something in. But generally, when we leave at 2 o'clock, we've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to work on through the course of the week. In the past, I've always given the kids the weekends off, but this last Saturday, we brought the guys in just to have them go through a light workout to kind of get the soreness out. And I think we got we saw good benefits from that. In Monday's practice, we didn't seem to have the stiffness and the soreness that we'd had before, and which was good because we had a lot of work we needed to do. So we will probably stay with that routine and have the guys, come in for about 45 minutes on Saturday morning and work themselves out and get that out.
What time do you get them out of bed, Coach?
Well, we don't have them there at 7.
Okay.
Although I will give them credit, when I got there when I got to the office at 6:30, there were a couple guys waiting for me.
Okay.
So. But no, I just told them it was going to be open from 7 to 12, and to make sure they come in and get it done because the weight room is right next to the office where
Sure.
they're doing the film breakdown. So they do get to sleep in a little bit, just as long as they, come in and get that workout done.
Right.
And that went really well. So,
Good.
On Mondays, then with the JV games, we usually go out to the field first and go ahead and go through our installation, anything we may be doing differently offensively or defensively, because some of those kids we have playing in that JV game are also those twos we were talking about, the backups, and they need to know what's going in that day. So we'll go over all that, and then as they leave for the JV game, that's when we would take the varsity guys and go watch film and go over some corrections, from Friday's game. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are the full pad practices. We'll be out there from 2:50 until probably about 5:20. Try to keep it no more than 2.5 hours. And just running through things, a lot of full speed, but what we call thud. We don't do a whole lot of live to the ground tackling just
Sure.
for health purposes, but we still, make those the more physical practices. And then hopefully we've got a good understanding of everything by then, so that Thursday is just our, hour and 15-minute walkthrough just to make sure everybody knows their assignments, everybody who's a number 2 knows who the number 1 is, and vice versa, and then we call it a week.
Mm-hmm. How much lifting and film are going along in that period of time from like a Monday through Thursday?
We lift them twice a week, and they come in before school. We split them up between the varsity guys and the JV guys, and so they all get at least 2 a week. Some will come in and get a third lift in. I've got several in a weightlifting class, so they'll get 3 or 4 lifts in. I've got a few other older guys who will, just come in on a third morning and come in and get another lift in. They don't come in on Thursdays, of course, because they're getting ready for that. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they'll all get at least 2, if not 3 lifts in.
Okay.
And then as far as watching film goes, we talked about Huddle before and how everything's so accessible online. So, we watch on Monday together with the staff and the players, go over corrections. And then as far as film during the week, we let them access it online as far as our opponents. So our kids get the same film that we as coaches do, and they can look at the things that we've pointed out to them through the course of the week.
Now, I know the district talked about this, but are you guys doing the freshman JV on the Monday nights this year?
Yes, we are. They both play on
How's
Monday
that
night.
working out?
I think it works out great. It varies as far as we've had sometimes, and I think maybe it was because it was Rutherford County. So usually the freshmen go first, start at 5:30, and the JV then starts around 6:45 or 7. But I think it's a good chance to get both games in. I think it's good. And when you talk about practices and what ones you would want the JV guys to miss, you want to minimize the practice time they're missing. I think Monday is the best because, like we said, there's enough time they can get the installation and see what's going in. They do miss the film session, but again, we can always grab them, after practice one day if there's something specific we need them to see.
Right.
And you certainly don't want to be on a Thursday because that's the night before you go play varsity. So I think it's going well playing both of them on Monday night.
Are you going to be able to do the same thing for Hendersonville on Monday, do their JV freshmen?
Actually, we're not. It's an off day or a bye week for those guys.
Next week.
Yeah, so the freshmen and JV won't have a game this coming Monday.
Okay. Now, when you say bye week, is that bye week for Hendersonville, bye week for Brentwood?
Oh, just for the freshmen and JV will treat it as a bye
as a
week.
bye
Yeah,
week.
so
Okay.
they'll get an extra day of practice that
Okay.
week is what'll happen.
All right. Now, as far as the preparation for Hendersonville, are they still the wing tee?
They are.
So, what are they
They
doing
are.
on the defensive side?
Still a 50.
Still doing
Still
the
a 50. Cover 2. They rolled down to 3 quite a bit against Lebanon, but they do something completely differently offensively than we do. So I had to go back and pull out some of the old Antioch tape from when I was there and we played Hendersonville just to confirm what I thought about how they would treat the spread. And I would expect us to see a lot of cover 2 out of them. So that's why I said with the passing game, there are going to be some windows downfield for us to hit. So hopefully we can get those big chunk yardage plays and and start being more effective offensively.
Who has to play well for you then tonight for you to have an opportunity to win?
Well, if we're talking about offensively, it starts with our quarterback. You know, Aaron's going to have to play well. He's going to have to, and that means as a runner and a thrower. You know, I think he's our leading rusher right now, or our second leading rusher, and that's not going to change because we do so much like what you have back here, where he's reading and where he could be an option to keep it and run himself. So he's going to have to be good there. But, you know, we've got to be able to make plays downfield, too. So he's going to have to be sharp with his passes. We're going to need a big game from Andy Shumpert. You know, I mean, he's a 6'4" kid. He missed the Blackman game with a hip injury. He came back against Centennial, made a few catches, but we need to be able to start hitting him downfield and make some big plays.
Right. On the defensive side of the ball, who has to step up for you?
You know, Paul Hunt's going to have a big role for us on the defensive line this week, which we've tried to keep him as a one-way player, but he's too good a player and we have too many struggles defensively. He's going to have to play on the defensive side, and we're going to need him to play really well. And our linebacker core, we're not going to have necessarily one or two linebackers. You know, we'll probably have between Tanner, Cordell Thompson, Nathan Kinchin, Harrison Johnson's going to move in and play some of that. So we're going to need all four of those guys to play well.
Now, I know from the past, Hendersonville doesn't throw the ball very much. Are they still that way?
They are. I think we've got them down as throwing 4 passes, you know, in the two films we saw from them. So, you know, and it's because they haven't had to throw. You know, they're 3-0 because they've been running this wing tee very well this year, and they've had a lot of success on the ground. Hopefully, we make them have to throw the football. You know, if they're putting the ball up 8-10 times tonight, then we're doing a good job defensively.
Yeah. I know that back in '98 we played them, and the first time we beat them, and they'd throw some passes in that first game, and we'd get some interceptions. And then when we played them in the quarterfinals, their game plan was not to throw the football, and they did not. They did not throw the football the entire game, and they just pounded us, and we didn't do a very good job of stopping them that night, and we had some turnovers ourselves. So I'm very familiar with Hendersonville on how they play.
Yeah, the formula hasn't changed. You know, they do what they do and they do it well.
Coach Hatfield's been there at least probably 15 years.
I was going to say, as long as I've been down here, it seems to me he's been the man. So I would say 15
well, the coach,
years.
That was at I'm trying to think, at Gallatin. He just retired.
Coach Lassiter.
Lassiter. I think he was at Hendersonville, then went to Gallatin.
Okay, well that may be. That was.
Yeah, he was there 1 year, I think, when I first came in '97. Then I think Hatfield took over. Yeah, they haven't changed, so they're still the same. It's going to be a physical football game for you tonight.
Yes, it will.
And their kids do a great job of getting after it, and they're well coached. And so it's going to be a challenge to come out of here tonight with a win and get the first big W. What would that mean to the football program for you guys as a staff and everything?
Well, you know, it'll be a relief to get that. And, I think I hope our guys aren't feeling the pressure. I mean, we talked about how, the goals that they had set that they wanted to achieve are still right there, but we're getting to the point now we need to focus on, winning a game first. So,
sure.
We get this first win, and, it will be a chip off the shoulder, but we'll have to turn around and get ready next week for another tough opponent. So, it'll just be nice to have a little bit of joy, tonight, which we haven't had on the previous Fridays.
Right. And so with homecoming festivities coming in there tonight, with, all that kind of stuff that goes with that, have you had a hard time getting the kids focused this week to stay their mind on the game?
No, we haven't. Like I said, Monday was a great practice, and we had a lot of corrections to go through, and we coached them really, really hard. It was a tough Monday, but they rose to the challenge. We had a great day. Tuesday with the weather, we had to go inside, but it was one of the best gym practices I think I've been around for what it's worth. They were really locked in. It was strictly an assignment practice for a few hours, but did a great job there, and it carried over Wednesday to where assignment-wise, they remembered the stuff and they could do the stuff that we had talked about in the gym. So, like I said, Thursday it's really tough to say because all you're doing is just walking through. So I don't know if there's really such a thing as a good Thursday practice.
True.
But the other days were pretty good. So, I've got a good feeling about it. Hopefully it'll carry over for us.
Well, Coach, you've been an offensive guy. If you had one play to call, would it be a pass or a run?
Where are we at?
Let's just say you're in the middle of the football field. It's a first down play.
We're throwing. If I only have one play left to call, and somebody says, "Look, this is the last play you're ever going to call," it's going to be a pass.
Okay. Is there a special?
It's going to be 4 verticals.
Verticals.
If that's the
What's
last
that play
I
called?
We just call it go.
The go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to use a numbering system, and it was 888, but now it's now we just call it go, and we just send 4 guys vertical. They each have their landmarks on the numbers or the hash, and quarterback will pre-snap his best matchup, and that's where we're going to go.
Mm-hmm. Formation-wise, what kind of terminology are you using on formations now?
Oh, we use a lot of the same terminology you did. We still use right, left, rip, and Liz.
Okay.
What we've done more of is use different personnel groups. We'll have 11 personnel where we have one tight end and one back, but then we'll also have 10 personnel where we take the tight end out and put in a 4th wide receiver.
Right.
Still call it right, left, rip, or Liz, but it looks like a different setup because we don't have the tight end in there.
Right.
And then we also go some 20 personnel or 21 personnel with 2 backs and 1 tight end or no tight end. So
any 32 personnel?
No 32. No 32 personnel.
For those who don't know, 32 personnel would mean you got 3 guys in the backfield besides the quarterback and 2 tight ends, and you're packed in there pretty tight.
Yeah, we don't quite have the personnel for that, so we won't be in 32 this year.
Right. As far as tonight's game and the keys, do you think it's the first series of the first quarter or the first series of the third quarter? Which one's more important?
I think for us, particularly offensively, it's going to be the first series of the first quarter.
Okay.
Because we have turned the ball over in our first series each of the first 3 games and put our defense in a bind. And as a result, put our team in a bind because now we're down because each of the turnovers has occurred on our side of the field. So, we need to protect the football and then make a drive where we can go down and get points and take the lead early. And I think if we can do that, obviously we're all going to feel a lot better. I think our kids are going to be excited. The crowd's going to be excited and get behind us. And hopefully that will lead to good things. But that's going to be the most important drive, I think, for us.
Kind of off the subject, do you like the way TWSAA is doing playoffs?
No.
I know.
I'll give you a little bit. I don't. Simply because the last couple of years they've made mistakes, and it's, when you talk about the weekend and the time you have to prepare, I can't imagine the frustration as a coach of preparing for an opponent that morning and then finding out by the afternoon that's not the opponent that you're going to have,
right.
And now you've got to go get ready for somebody else, or, if you're the team who's preparing, and you knew you were a borderline team going in and you think you're in, and you're preparing for it, and your kids are excited about it, and now in the afternoon you get a phone call saying, we made a mistake, you're not in anymore.
Sure.
I mean, I can't imagine how hard that would be.
Right. Well, Coach, thanks for coming in. Best of luck tonight to the Brentwood Bruins. I'd like to see win number 1 for the 2013 season.
Thanks, Jack. So would I.
Thank you for joining us, and come out to the game tonight. Game starts at 7.
Correct.
Homecoming at Brentwood. Thank you.
Riding your bike is great exercise and a fun way to go places. To stay safe on the road, remember a few simple tips. Always wear your helmet. Helmets are required by Tennessee law for cyclists under the age of 16. Check your equipment. Make sure your tires are inflated properly, your brakes work, and your chain is working smoothly. Be visible. Wear bright colors, and at night wear something reflective. Just because you can see a driver doesn't mean that he can see you.
I don't know that I would call it natural, but I do think that there is some conflict between motorists and cyclists on the roadways. And I think it goes that most people are not aware of what the rules are that pertain to both. State law says that cyclists have as much right to the roadway as a car does, but it also states that they must follow the same rules as a car does. That means bikes are supposed to stop at stop signs. They must stop at red lights. They don't have to necessarily obey the speed limit laws, but they do have to be respectful of other traffic and make sure that they're following the same roadway rules as a car does.
Stay alert. Watch out for potholes, cracks, or anything that could make you lose control of your bicycle. You need your ears to hear traffic, So don't listen to music or use your cell phone while cycling. Be predictable. Try to ride in a straight line and use hand signals to communicate your moves to others. Stay safe, and most of all, enjoy the ride.